Since 2010, mental health among teens has had a dramatic down spiral. It's affected their health, their levels of depression, anxiety, and suicidality. And while there's a lot of reasons for it, it's very clear that children need more help getting socialized, involved with others their age, and just experiencing life. Today, I'm talking to Kindra Gipple, who developed Hope Social, which is accomplishing exactly these goals. Kindra, how are you today?
I'm good. Thank you.
Sweet. Yeah, absolutely. I'm ecstatic to have you on the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
I want to talk to you about Hope Social, what it is, where it came from. I really have a million questions. Let's start here. What is Hope Social?
So Hope Social is a teen and young adult mental wellness and peer support program. And the whole premise of this is that our kids need connection. They are incredibly isolated right now. And so I have created a program for teens and young adults who are struggling with anxiety, with depression, with social anxiety, which is a huge one, with just life challenges. Maybe parents are going through a divorce, grief, wherever they're at, that they have a place that they can come and connect with other people who are also just going through some things that can, when you bring those people together, they can feel like I'm not alone. And it's incredible to see that. And our kids need that place to connect. And if you listen to some of the psychologists out there that are leading the way in healing, like Dr. Bruce Perry, he just was out here. I don't know if you attended that last year, but he talks so much about the need for community and how vital community is. And he says, relationships are the agent of change. And I just think that is so powerful. And yet we see all these kids that are struggling with these things, and they are so alone. Right. So, there is that, and there's Bessel van der Kolk that is always talking about the importance of connection and that safe space in healing, and how that your self-worth and your sense of belonging comes from being a part of a community. Right. And so that is just vital. So we have created a community for these individuals to come together that are struggling and have a space where they can say like, hey, yeah, me too. Or like, I get that, or I've been there, And then on top of that, to give them the hope part of Hope Social, which is there is hope to heal. Like, this does not have to be the end of your story. Like, there is so much more out there, and let me show you ways to get there.
Right.
So we're hoping to empower these kids. So giving them connection and giving them tools. And, one of the things I think is such a good quote, and I may not get it quite right, but it's that shame dies when stories are told in safe spaces. And that is what I hope that Hope Social is for these teens and young adults.
Cool. So what does a day, like, if I signed up for Hope Social and I went there,
you should.
What would? Yeah, I'm probably right on the end.
Yeah.
What would a day look like? What would a week look like?
Okay, so a typical day, they come in and we have like a coffee house kind of vibe. We have an actual little coffee cart kind of thing. We have a barista in there so kids can get a drink, they can get a snack. We serve all kinds of coffees or teas or like poppies and that kind of thing. So they can also get a dirty soda. So it's really, music's playing. There's a lot of big windows. It's bright in there. So it's just an inviting space to walk in after a school day or after work and just be able to, take a breath. And catch up with the people that you've met and that you've made friendships with. And so that's probably the first about 20 minutes is just everybody kind of coming in, catching up with one another. And then once that is done, we move to another room that, I created this space very intentionally with teens and young adults in mind. I really wanted it to feel comfortable, but also have just a really warm energy to it. So the next room you move into, it's got some like cool lighting, and we've got the overhead, lights, and we've got some down the wall, and we've got beanbags and couches, and very comfortable space. So the young people will sit around in a circle, and we'll start off the day with just what's coming up this week. Like for instance, today we're going out to like a pumpkin patch kind of thing.
Cool,
and we are hanging out. They have a ropes course and corn maze and all of that. So we are doing that this afternoon, and looking forward to that. So we kind of talk about fun things that are coming up. We have a Halloween party coming, and we do all kinds of just fun things together as well. So we'll talk about that. Some of the young people last month said, let's do show and tell. So we, they're like, it'll be like throwback to like when we were little. And so it was so cool though, because they brought pieces of themselves in and shared that. And it was honestly just such a beautiful thing and such a neat way to really help them to connect with one another and see different sides of each other. So, so we'll do that kind of thing in that first introductory part. And then I will, share something each day. And the things that I am sharing is just based on the things that I have learned through books, that I have learned through sitting and listening to like some of the best experts in the world, during COVID, when you could go on and you could listen to Bessel van der Kolk on, just talking, and Peter Levine and all these people that I look up to, and I've read their books. I can listen to them and take notes on what they think about trauma and healing and all of that. So, so I have just a huge curriculum of just really good tools, that you can use every day in your life to take you towards healing. And so that is just a big piece of what we're doing there too. I want to show them that you can get to the other side of this. So, so we'll do that for, however long. I sometimes go on, and sometimes I don't. We might have some journaling in there, some small group discussions or around the room kind of discussions, and then we'll break into smaller groups. And these smaller groups are really just meant to be more with people that's more age specific, and you have the opportunity to talk about maybe the things that I shared that day. They can continue that discussion, or they can say, hey, I'm struggling with this. What do you guys think? And get support and encouragement from other people their own age. Because so many of these young people, they have wonderful parents at home. I talk to the parents on the phone before they come in and do a tour and meet me and stuff. We'll talk on the phone, and these parents know so much of what their young people need. But the reality is those kids are growing and they're maturing, and they're at that stage in their life where they're supposed to be independent now. And so they are trying to create that independence, and figure out, who am I outside of my parents? So oftentimes, even though the parents have so much to offer, they aren't listening, but they are listening to peers. And so when they can get in that small group and feel that connection with other peers, that is really, really powerful. And when the peer can say, hey, how did that conversation go with your mom? Or how was your counseling session today? That is just, it's like somebody is interested in my life and paying attention to me. And that itself is just, is just powerful. That's creating that community. So we end with that each day, that small group time. And that's a typical day.
So we talked about how you kind of, you thought about Hope Social for about 5 years before you actually started it. And we've talked about what it looks like. Why? Why did you start Hope Social?
Several things.
Mm-hmm.
One, I felt like there was a hole in the whole mental health system. So again, you've got your therapist, great for one-on-one work, and you've got residential, good place to have some time away and really focus on things. And you've got your IOPs, short-term, hospital for the emergency, but we didn't have anywhere for anyone really in the mental health system. Where do you go for connection? Where do you go to have a space just to talk through things with people your age? Like, I don't know that exists. IOPs are great, but no one's encouraging kids to connect there. You know, It's more, let's learn some stuff. And some of them even say like, yeah, we're not connecting here. Right. That's not the goal of this. Same with residential, you know, they might meet each other, but one might be from California and another's from Nevada. And they're, you know, so these kids aren't connecting after. And in the hospital, I mean, that's a traumatic time. So you're not meeting connection there. In the therapist's office, you're connecting with your therapist, which is wonderful and important. And it's important that they have that safe connection. But where do they go to connect if they are isolated and alone and hurting? Right now, I don't know of a space where they go. There are churches that have programs. And if you aren't struggling with anything, that's a great place to go. You know, to a church, to a sports program. But these kids that are isolating and feeling lonely right now, they're not in any of that. And it's not easy to just walk in. But when you can walk into a program like this, where it's like, I know everybody else has struggled too, it makes it a lot easier to be able to do that. So I felt like there was just like a gap where it's like, where do they go? Everyone's saying connection, community. But we don't have it. So that is what I was trying to create here with Hope Social, is community. And secondly, we have an isolation epidemic going on, an epidemic of loneliness, where people are just hurting and feeling so alone. And, you know, I remember when the Surgeon General came out and declared that. And I thought, geez, you know, I mean, I'm seeing it up and down my block. I can say, in this house, there's a kid here. I know he doesn't ever do anything outside of the house. And I know there's one here. And, you know, maybe my nephew or my, you know, friend's son or daughter, they come home from school and they go straight to their room, or they're not even in school anymore. And they're just gaming all day long. And sleeping, and then gaming, and then sleeping. And you hear them laugh, you know, you hear them giggle, you think, oh, they're connecting. But that's not connection. It's not real. They're not in life. And so I'm seeing so much isolation. But when the Surgeon General came out with that, you know, at the end of the report, he said, you know, there is a solution for this, and that is human connection. So all of this is going on, and I'm like, well, how do they do that? Where do they go? Where's the program for that? Where's the support for that? And I know parents everywhere feeling the same thing. Like, my kid doesn't leave their room, and I don't know what to do, and I don't know where to go.
Right.
So that was a huge need. I was seeing that everywhere. And then the other thing is that grief has been my biggest teacher. And I have had just a lot of grief in my life. I lost my mom at 15, went on to lose my first baby right before he was supposed to be born. And then, you know, raised my next oldest son to 18, and then he died tragically. And when you're in that space of deep grief, especially when you've had it multiple times, you start to think, how do I find joy again?
Mm-hmm.
How do I look towards my future and say, wow, that looks beautiful, when there will be weddings, my sons aren't going to be there, Christmases, everyday things. They're not in any of those pictures. And so it's really difficult to figure out how do I find joy again? And I was trained. I did the schooling for this. I know
Right.
like the cycle of grief and all of that. And I would say like in the moment when I lost my 18-year-old son, I would say no to that cycle of grief. I'd say like those stages are it's more like this,
Mm-hmm.
it's this big ball of hurt and pain, especially when it's someone close. And I would have to say your child, that's a big one.
Yeah.
So it was like I had this big ball of pain, and I don't know if you've seen this analogy, but I think it's pretty cool. Like your grief doesn't just go away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like here's my grief, and then it's like there's a jar around it of my capacity to hold it, and it's
Mm-hmm.
pushing the sides. It's like filling the jar. But over time, my grief stays the same, but the jar gets bigger and bigger as my capacity grows to be able to carry it. And I always thought that's what grief looks like, because I will always grieve when my son is not present at all of these beautiful things in my future. But like I said, I had to figure out, where do I find my joy again? And I was watching all the trauma, all these people talking about trauma. I was reading every book I could get a hold of. But I remembered a book that I had read, or I picked up years ago and never read, and I decided to grab it. And it was Eckhart Tolle, The Power of Now. Are you familiar with it?
I'm not.
So powerful. So we were talking earlier about thoughts, right? And the things that we were talking about, that is what he talks about, like our thoughts and which ones we're choosing to be a part of and which ones we're choosing to let go. Same with Michael Singer. He's written a fabulous book. I can't remember the name right now, but same kind of thing. It's all about our thoughts. And so learning how to rather than focusing on, I've got this ball of pain, but learning how to not always let that ball of pain be what's filtering through me every single day. I used to wake up in the morning, and as soon as I'd wake up, my brain would say to me, Zach died. Zach died. And that was what I'd wake up to. And I would be off in this cycle of pain. And it was horrible. But then I learned about how that subconscious mind, is still kind of moving in the morning, and how it's our job to rewire that, to start teaching it to look for something else and to pay attention to other things. So in the morning, I learned to say, this is going to be a great day. And over time, my brain started looking for ways that it would be a great day. And I started choosing to find joy, choosing to see beauty, because I wasn't seeing it. It wasn't that I wasn't wanting to see it. I didn't see it, and I didn't know that I could separate from the ball of pain and focus on the good. And the other piece that Eckhart Tolle really focuses on is then being present and living in the present moment. And that is an incredible, beautiful space that you can pull out anytime you need it. So when you are in, the past, they say that, past is the pain, past is where the hurt lies, the trauma lies, all of that is in your past. In the future is where worry lives and fear and anxiety. But when you can come back to the present moment, like we're just sitting here in a chair, just us and Tim, the cameraman.
Yeah.
Hanging out and enjoying this time together.
Yeah.
Not in the past, not worrying about what's coming, but just here and now. And so these are the nuggets that I want these kids to know, because these are things they can take with them for a lifetime. And I will tell you, there was a moment it became clear to me that I had to figure something out. And it was, I was driving. This was about 5 years after I'd lost my son. And I was still just, people would say, how you doing? And I think they thought I should be fine. It's been 5 years, lady. That's just not how it works. Unless you have tools to get out and to, you go into the pool and you swim in the grief a little bit, and then you get out and you have to shake yourself off and you have to move on to the good, to the positive. But I'm driving down the road and I think I'm doing okay, but I'm just in a lot of pain still, a lot of tears still. I'm driving, and if you know the Southeast Valley, there's a road called Ocotillo, and it goes right into Intel, and so it basically ends in the Intel parking lot. So I am driving opposite of that, and the light is green, and I'm heading through, and I notice out of the corner of my eye a semi coming. And I don't think he realizes that there's a stoplight there. He's going into Intel, and he's just barreling down. And I see it, and I know he's so close to me. I've already passed the point of stopping, but I see it, and he probably missed me by tiny, tiny bit. He slammed on his brakes as I'm going through. And it didn't really affect me. And that's when I said, I've got to figure this out. I've got to figure out why that wasn't bothering me. I have to be reconnected with life. I have to find joy again. I have to have things that I'm looking forward to. I have to do this for myself.
Would you say at that point it was like apathy would be the best word to describe?
Yeah, numb too. Just numb, and I was having, dissociation at the time, and I didn't have anxiety in the beginning really much, except if my kid was late or anything like that, I'd have all that fear and all that anxiety. Absolutely. But I was just kind of just really numb inside. And when I started to learn to heal, when I began to feel joy, when I began to say, oh, I don't want to go down that road of those thoughts right now. Like, I'm going to save that for later. So no, thank you. I'm not going to go on that spiral with you thoughts. No, thank you. I'm going to go over here. And I'm going to focus on, going for a walk today. I'm going to walk every day. I'm going to enjoy that. I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to hang out with my family. I am going to choose the woof that is the joy and the hope and the goodness and the beauty. I'm going to feed that woof. I'm going to feed him good. And I want that to grow. But it was a choice. But what I realized through that was we've got tools that can change our outlook on life. And because I did it myself, I know this to be true, and I know what a difference those tools have made in my life. So knowing that, it was like, I got to tell people about this. and I was so connected to teens because, not only had I lost my 18-year-old son, but I had teens at home, his siblings struggling, wishing they had community around them. So that was my passion, and that passion just kept being fueled by seeing all these isolated people. Our teens need help, and knowing that I had just been through something so hard, and if I, who can't change my circumstances, can find true joy and happiness again, so can they. And I can't wait to show them the way. So that is my story. This is definitely a passion project, and one that I absolutely love. So
thank you for sharing all of that.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So, I mean, the next question to me is where to next? What does Hope Social look like now, and do you have plans to grow it?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to grow it. I mean, I think this program belongs everywhere. Because we've got kids everywhere, and they're lonely everywhere, and they're isolated everywhere, and they need people to be next to them on this journey. So yeah, I see our kids feeling, they're being seen, heard, validated, and it's such a beautiful thing to watch. I wish that their parents could stand outside the door and just listen to the laughter in the room and how they're talking to people. For some people, they haven't left their house barely at all since COVID. And so it is a huge step for them to just step outside of that and come somewhere to a social setting 3 days a week. That's huge for them. There's others that haven't done that, and then they start coming. They're with us for a few months, and there's one girl that is off. She hadn't left her house, and now she is off doing amazing things and following her dreams and her dream career. And it's just like, this is such a beautiful thing to be a part of. But yes, they should be everywhere.
Well, one question I really want is where can we find you? How do people get involved, get connected?
Well, our website is hopesocial.org. And on there, if you're interested in more information, you can, there's a form right on there that you can fill in, and it'll email us, and we will reach out and get in touch with you. We are also on Instagram, Facebook, and that's Hope Social AZ.
Cool.
And even though, yes, I'm not a huge fan of social media, I am on there because
you got to let them know where to go. Right, absolutely.
I hope to inspire them. I try to keep that page all about healing. And hopefully it's putting good things out there for people. So, yeah.
That's phenomenal. Well, thank you so much for talking to me today. You've been an absolute delight, and I hope to see you again soon.
Thank you. Yeah. It's been wonderful being here, and I appreciate you having me.
Hey, guys. I hope you enjoyed that video. Redemption Psychiatry is a private practice located in the greater Phoenix area that focuses on mental health with advanced treatments for depression, anxiety, ADHD, OCD, and a whole lot of other mood disorders. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please feel free to give us a call today or go to our website and set up for a new patient appointment. Thanks.